Hi, thank you so much for joining us today for WIGI's Open World Dialogue series. And thank you everyone for tuning into our video. We're so excited to kick things off and get the conversation started. Now, keep in mind that all open world dialogue sessions are usually run on LinkedIn Live to create this open conversation with the WIGI community, and questions are always encouraged. This particular session is pre-recorded because we are featuring a special guest coming from Austria to chat with us about marketing and communications in the gaming industry. So I'm definitely excited to get that ball rolling. And without any further ado, hi, my name is Crystal Sanchez, and I'm your host for today's Open World Dialogue session. I graduated from UCI back in 2020 and have since been able to work with the communities within the AI NFT and e-commerce spaces, creating social media content, connecting with users, collaborating with influencers, and more. My passion, however, has always been in gaming, and it's so important that we have organizations like WIGI that foster a community of individuals who are able to learn from each other and further grow their careers within the industry. Now, for those of you who don't know, WIGI is a nonprofit with a mission to cultivate resources like this interactive session to advance the economic equality and diversity of the global games industry. WIGI champions a safe, inclusive, and diverse workforce in video games, tabletop, and esports industries. And I'm so excited to introduce our next speaker, Miss Bruna Novo. Bruna is a vibrant advertising professional based in Vienna, Austria, where she currently serves as a communications manager at Mipumi Games. She has a wealth of experience in building relationships with influencers and generating diverse content across multiple channels. Skilled in international team management, reporting, and online monitoring, she brings valuable insights and expertise to her role at Mipumi and to today's open world dialogue. Bruna, do you mind giving us a little brief introduction onto who you are, what you do, all that good stuff?
Sure. I'm very happy to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for the opportunity of supporting Wigi and the Wigi community in general. I'm Bruna, as you said. I'm from Brazil, and I have a lot of experience in digital marketing management, community management, content creation. And many of those years that I spent, more than 14 years actually, were spent actually in video games and in areas related to gaming. Um, this is the job that brought me actually to Austria. I was working at the time with video game live streaming and an opportunity to change scenarios and start over sort of a career across the ocean showed up. I was working at Sao Paulo at the time and I embraced it, expanding my expertise, yeah, across borders.
No, that's amazing. And I'm so excited to get into that and talk about especially opportunities in other countries and when and how to, figure out if these opportunities are right for us and when we should kind of take it. So I am so excited to get into it. I would love to chat a little bit about the communications aspect, especially over at Mipumi. Um, what initiatives would you propose to enhance community engagement and support within the gaming space as a communications manager?
I believe a very important aspect in community engagement is keeping the conversation going. A lot
Mhm.
of video game developers, especially in the indie space, they end up forgetting the importance of marketing because, when you have a small team or when you're developing by yourself, um, the code and delivering the product, a quality product, it's a lot of times the most important thing, the focus, and people tend to forget the marketing aspect of it. And a good part of it is listening to what's happening in the world, following other indie developers, so looking at what other people are doing and how they are expanding their communities, which events are happening in your region. So I would say to continuously engage a community, to continuously talk to people, you need to be out there. You need to produce content, respond to messages. You need, to keep the conversation going in multiple levels, which should include looking for groups, looking for NGOs like WIGI, and talking to people really online or in person whenever that's possible. And of course, I also understand that a lot of times attending events and, scheduling meetings, talking to people, has an impact also on the daily work. It's a lot of time that you spend. It's a lot of budget um, to travel around and meet people at events. But at the end of the day, to keep the conversation going, you have to put yourself a little bit out there. You have to bring your game out there. You have to create content, look into trends, and evaluate what kind of initiatives and events are worth engaging with, are within budget and within your basic capabilities. A lot of times when you talk about digital marketing management and the internet environment in general, when it comes to the possibilities, there is a lot of possibilities: social networks, live stream platforms, and all that. You just have to know your audience and select what makes sense for you and for your game. And this means, yes, of course, you will have to let a few initiatives out, but once you know your audience, once you know where people are and what kind of content they are engaging with, then you can just jump in and start, creating your own content and cultivating those conversations with the community.
No, definitely. And I do like what you bring up. I feel like a lot of the times people do get sucked into just the concept of creation. And then once it's out there, there's no game plan. But like you mentioned, it's an in-person conversation. You're meeting people, you're introducing your game to the potential clients, and you're reaching out to them not just digitally, but in person as well. So there's that aspect as well.
There is also that aspect of attending in-person events and talking to people, trying to host events. Yesterday here at MIPOMI, we received, as part of an event that is happening here in Vienna, Austria, called CMIX, we received a large group of people that are not necessarily on the video game industry, but have an interest, have an eye on that. And my boss, Martin, presented data and information about the video game industry for a lot of people that were just interested in knowing, like genuinely interested. And this is a big part of what MIPOMI does whenever there is an opportunity to bring people in, talk to them. Those are all potential business opportunities in video games. And I'm really glad to be in a company that cultivates that approach to talking to people, bringing them in, and taking the time to prepare a presentation and to present information about the gaming industry for people that are working in a variety of other entertainment industries in general. So this is also very, very important, and it, as I said, it cultivates business relationships that ahead might come, might come in hand. It might be really, really useful.
No, definitely. Going into your role, especially in, your daily tasks and everything, I'd love to know, what do you find the most rewarding about communications management, and what are the biggest challenges that you faced?
So, one of the most rewarding things is to see the impact of your work, not only on the internet and strangers, but in your colleagues. When someone
Mhm.
comes to you and says, "Hey, I noticed that you changed a little something," or, "Oh, I saw that we are attending that event," or, "Oh, that's interesting that you have that initiative internally." So when people hear about it, when there is buzz within the company and when there is buzz within the industry, when you are somehow getting noticed, I think this is very, very rewarding. One of the biggest challenges that I see is also one of the most important pillars in communication in general, which is consistency. When it comes to working with a brand that you need to represent, you need to have consistency in your communication, you need to have consistency in the tone and everything else,
Mhm.
and branding is very important. So I think consistency can come as a challenge because there is a wide spectrum of initiatives and tasks that you can kind of get lost. And also, new ideas come from the places where you least expect. So your colleagues can bring ideas. You can just watch a movie or play a new game and say, "Oh my God, I have to do that." And then reality hits of what is doable, what is consistent for me, what is really something that will add to the brand and to the game that we have at hand, or to the games that we have and we want to market. So one important aspect which is challenging is keeping the brand consistent. It's keeping consistency on what it's really doable on the everyday like a sort of a project management, an internal
Mhm.
project management that you have to do with yourself as a communications manager to see, okay, this would be amazing. I would love to do that, but is it doable? Can I keep consistency in that? Can I really give the time and the attention necessary to that task? So this
Mhm.
is for me kind of a everyday challenge that I struggle with sometimes.
No, I mean, I can imagine, especially because every game has its own particular voice, and no two games use the same kind of lingo. If someone's interested in copywriting and marketing and needs to hone these skills, how do you recommend that they kind of go about it?
Usually, what I like to do is, first of all, read as much as you can. You have to write, you have to read as well. And nowadays, copy has become very, very short.
Mhm.
So, one challenge of it is having an attention grabber when it comes to message and videos on social media, on a newsletter, whatever you are communicating. You need to have that little attention grabber. So, what I recommend to people is find the game's voice, find your own voice, find your unique thing. And it might be difficult because you see a lot of things out there that are working. You see other game developers, big ones and small ones, that have found their own voice, and we try to get this inspiration from it. But once you find your own tone, for that creating content, whatever platform it is, regardless if it's a blog post, newsletter, TikTok, Instagram, it becomes a bit more easy once you have that core, that center, that tone of
Mhm.
voice, that it's not copied from another timeline. But it's fine to do research. I love doing that. I think a lot of the work in communication in general is researching what other people are doing. And the good thing is, yes, we are talking about video games, we are in the gaming industry, but good ideas can come from anywhere. And this is also a part of my background, that I have been on and off the video game industry. And I acquired that experience on what kind of contents work, what kind of strategies work in different B2B areas and B2C areas. So this is also something that I would definitely recommend. Just seek for creativity, try to read as much as you can on the trends, on what's happening, and find your own voice. At the end of the day, this is what's going to generate, this is what's going to create that attention grabber, that unique style that you're going to need, to push your communications ahead in general.
No, that's amazing. And just out of curiosity, I'd love to know, what's your favorite social media platform to kind of advertise these games on?
Might come as a surprise, but it's Reddit. I really like and I really recommend Reddit and YouTube as platforms to invest. Of course, that doesn't mean that I'm not recommending to have a TikTok account or Instagram or Facebook. I think you should have a presence in whatever platforms make sense for you. But there is so much potential in Reddit and YouTube. And I think LinkedIn also has a lot of potential, depending on your target audience, and depending on exactly what kind of services and what kind of games you are developing. You can
Mhm.
definitely have a solid LinkedIn presence that will boost your visibility and will support um, your communication efforts. But I really like YouTube and I really like Reddit for for advertising in general.
I love how you bring up Reddit. Just at my last open world dialogue session, we kind of chatted a little bit about how you can fall into these Reddit rabbit holes, how everyone has a similar experience. But going off of that, I feel like it also makes it such a great community environment, especially you already know what they're interested in. They could be in a subreddit dedicated to your a game that you're working on, a character that you have. So there's already that formed interest. It's just about, getting them through that door and buying that game and kind of listening about their overall experience with that game as well.
Absolutely. You have to be careful with Reddit because it's a free speech land, so you can
Yeah.
end up hearing something that you don't like. And in general, you have to give something before you take something. And I would like to mention also Pinterest for
Mhm.
people who are developing or working with games that are very visually appealing, because Pinterest is kind of a land of beauty and evergreen content, which can really help. It has a kind of a different algorithm. If you're struggling with the Instagram algorithm, if you're struggling getting by on TikTok, I think Reddit and Pinterest and YouTube can be alternatives that you can definitely explore. And again, you have to give something before you take something when it comes to Reddit, but when it comes to YouTube and Pinterest, you can definitely start building a small audience. Depending on what you have to offer. For YouTube, yeah, you can find streamers, you can find other gamers that are playing similar games, so you also find a small community in there. And when it comes to content creation, just explore what the platform offers. YouTube offers a lot, and Reddit also. So just dive into what's possible, look at what other people are doing, and yeah, try to expand and get out of the usual social media channels.
No, I love how these aren't just like the typical X, TikTok. So thank you for kind of giving us that varied opinion. I would love to know a little bit more about the other side of working on games, especially B2B sales. I know how we talked a little bit about how Mipumi Game has worked with projects like Indiana Jones, The Great Circle, and Alan Wake 2, which are all big titles. How can you describe the B2B process in kind of acquiring and working on these games? Yeah.
Sure. So it's a lot about building a brand reputation of reliability,
Mhm.
and staying in touch with people through events, and attending the big conferences and talking to people. This is not exactly something that I am particularly doing, but the company itself does. So Mipumi is also very active inside Austria's small video game development environment, very supportive of other developers in general. So, building connections when it comes to B2B business, especially for those who are starting, it's very, very important. Having, the basics, an organized, well organized website with information on what you do and what you have done already, and keeping a LinkedIn page, which is the environment for B2B in general. So if you are talking with customers, you will want to be have a stronger presence in other platforms. But if you are talking from business to business, LinkedIn is a platform that offers you a lot of possibilities. And if you have a little budget on the side, there are tools that you can use, to do a little bit of account-based marketing, to reach out to other brands that are your target audiences. So if you are divided, if you don't have all that budget to attend the big conferences and to attend the networking events that they offer, I would strongly recommend building a strong LinkedIn case, building a strong website with use cases, case studies, if you have that, where you could really show what you have to offer as a professional or as a company in general. And very,
Mhm.
very important, try to build reputation, try to build those connections with people, which means that you might need to help them out from time to time. um, Look for local events, a local community where you are. This is what Mipumi does very well. They're very, very supportive of the local Austrian development environment, the scene, in many ways. So this definitely helps when it comes to B2B.
No, definitely. Kind of going back to communications, and engaging with different communities, Can you share how different experiences have kind of shaped your approach in communications, particularly when you're promoting the games and engaging with their respective communities?
Absolutely. So my experience through my life in digital marketing management and in communications, I faced a lot of crisis, right?
Mhm,
I had big problems. I had games, I had to work with games where the community was very aggressive, where they were really frustrated, for example, with the game that
mhm,
they had, and I had to be the one calming them down. So one thing that shaped my general approach is I always have kind of a crisis management approach to every
mhm,
promotion that I am doing. And I would recommend people to, generally speaking, look into what can go wrong and how can I prevent it. So this is something that saved me over time a lot of stress, a lot of kind of unnecessary struggle along the way, having, okay, what can go wrong, right?
mhm,
And this can mean a variety of things. In the tone of your campaign, it can mean a variety of things on how you're going to market your game. But at the end of the day, you have to take under consideration what's happening in the world. Um, what are the changes that the gamers and the people who you want to achieve are going through in their lives that might be relevant. You know, I keep, for example, a content calendar that contemplates holidays, events, everything that's happening that, in my perspective, might have an impact in the communications. And that means, for example, that you don't want to launch a campaign this week because, I don't know, it's Black Friday coming and you're going to compete for clicks, or because this
mhm,
can generate a misunderstanding from the side of your audience. So try not to
mhm.
be in a bubble. And I've seen that mistake in a lot of the companies that I worked, not only with games, but this is one thing that I always try to bring a structure from the communication and a little bit, at least, of crisis management when it comes to preventing a headache. That's really, really helpful.
No, but I do like that you are up to date and knowledgeable about like any third party aspect that could potentially negatively impact the community or the development of a game. I think that's something that's really important for, anyone to kind of note and maybe adapt to their own projects. But I'd love to know, how important do you think a crisis plan is, especially when going into something like communications? As we know, the community might not always react well to a release or to a bug in a game. And so sometimes we're not always met with 100% positivity. Um, but yeah, I'd love to know, like, how important is it to kind of have something like a crisis plan on the side and prepared?
Look, I think it's extremely important, but maybe this is just the trauma talking because I've been through this situation a lot of times in my career where things didn't go right or the community didn't react positively. There was a release, there was a bug, something broke, something
Mhm.
crashed, and the gamers were angry. So I think it's very important to have a few questions and answers, or a few comments and potential answers that are already internally approved, that you can just copy paste and someone else can help you. Because another point that it's very important to think, if you have a small team, you might go on the sick leave, you might travel, you might be on vacation, and then a crisis happens. So what then? You know,
Great
if
timing,
you
huh?
exactly. If you are on holidays, think about it. It's Christmas morning, something breaks. You don't
Mhm.
want that to happen. You need to have a plan that you don't have to think about it a lot, that it's just, you know, it's there on the side in case something breaks, in case something goes wrong. So I think it's very important. And it's also something important to keep update, you know, to keep evolving, to keep adding potential questions and answers, like not necessarily a Q&A, but more like, what have you heard before that you had to reply and what you think that the gamers could respond. And when we talk about testers, for example, if your game is going through a beta testing, if there are people playing and reporting bugs and things that aren't working, this is a great opportunity to start building those crisis management documents. I work with spreadsheets. I think there is no recipe for that. It depends on what you have at hand, but I think having a spreadsheet, separating potential topics like
Mhm.
technical issues, something broke, the server went down, there was a promotion and something went wrong. So, and just adding potential problems there and answers, and doing it when everything's fine. It's
Mhm.
also very helpful, because when everything is on fire, we are also on fire as employees. You're kind of tense, you want to deliver, you want to solve the problem, and having something built when nothing was on fire, it's really helpful, because then it's a different mindset, right?
Mhm.
um, on crisis management, what I can say, a lot of times you have to find out when to stop responding when you are in the middle of a crisis, when it's the time to try to separate the conversation or bring the conversation from a public channel to a private channel.
Mhm.
And that would depend on the case, that would depend on the gamer. Some gamers want to keep the conversation public, they want to vent that frustration. A lot of times you have to decide, okay, this is where I stop and I move on to the next conversation, right? Because
Yeah.
engaging with, how can I summarize it? Like, don't feed the trolls. Know
Mhm.
when to answer if you see that this is a trolling situation, if this is really going in through a spiral of negativity with a certain group of people. Congratulations, you identified your first haters. Now you need to find ways to deal with them as well. Um, Having a hater is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. While I was working in Brazil, I was working with a very aggressive community from a game called APB Reloaded, and it was
Mhm.
GTA Online before there was GTA Online,
Ooh.
kind of. And some of the gamers were really aggressive and really frustrated whenever there was a ban in the game, whenever some of the gamers were banned for using cheat codes or something like that. So they would come to the forums and to the social network and vent and really complain a lot about it.
Mhm.
Um, and they were also at the time, as far as I remember, really frustrated with cosmetics that were available in other versions of the game and not on the version that they had. So I had to create two separate strategies on how to deal with those two clear cases of frustration, right?
Mhm.
Whenever it was cosmetic related, I created pools and I tried to push for some of those cosmetics to come to the game. And when it came to bans, I had to work with other community managers that were actually responsible for curating the game and making sure that it wasn't a gigantic cheat land.
Yeah.
Um, and then we created those responses, those answers, and to keep things kind of under control. And we established those boundaries of when the conversation would stop. So what
Mhm.
is the point where you say, okay, no, no more? Um, so yeah, to just go back to your question, it's very important to have a crisis management plan. And this is not something that you need to have on launch day, but this is something that you should have in mind, and
Mhm.
start working on it once you identify some problems in the game, some things that might not be working. Fix it, but have an answer in case it happens again, or in case it happens with something else. So create a spreadsheet, potential problems, leave it on the side, keep it updated. If something goes wrong, it really helps, especially if you need other team members to help. Having that, established as acceptable
Mhm.
responses for crisis potential threats to your brand really helps you ease the pain also for other people that are might be involved in communications.
No, definitely. I do like something that you said where, especially in regards to the skins and not it being available between console, how you turn that into an opportunity, not only for engagement with the poll that you put up, but also with potential for improvement and having these skins available. So not only are you kind of engaging with the community, but you're giving them what they want in like a way that I don't know. I just really love how you turned it into opportunity. So I think that's definitely something we all need to kind of do.
Thank you. Yeah, there are opportunities, and sometimes, yes, your hands will be tied, and there is nothing you can really offer them. But bringing the conversation internally, talk to the people that are the decision makers, and see, hey, is this something we can give to them?
Mhm.
Is this something that will increase sales? Like everybody wants that little hair and the little skirt that they can find in the other version. They are talking about it like crazy. So if we put in our game, what does it take, to bring it to us so that they can have it and they will be happy about it and they will know that we are listening. So there are opportunities from crisis. Not every crisis will give you necessarily an opportunity. Every crisis will give you something to reflect on,
Yeah.
but some crisis and some criticism can be turned into opportunities. You just have to be aware and listening, and this is we go back to staying in contact with the community and actually listening to what they're saying can really generate a lot of opportunity.
Mhm. I would love to ask you a little bit more about you, especially your educational background. So, your original degree is in advertising, and I know you've worked on a plethora of different things, but how do you feel like your educational background has kind of influenced your work within gaming?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking that, because I went going maybe a little too way back, but I went to school with a scholarship in a private uh, school, and because of that and because of my performance, I got a scholarship to university.
Mhm,
And I was with a scholarship my whole life, basically my whole educational life. And this was a program from the government that was aiming at giving people from other groups an opportunity, to have a graduation, to have a degree, and to launch their professional lives ahead. So I can say that this had a gigantic impact into really moving forward with my career and making a decision to leave the countryside, for example, and go to a bigger city, which was Sao Paulo. I was born and raised in the countryside of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, a very small city, and then I moved basically alone with a backpack to Sao Paulo, and my goal was to work with games. And this was a very different Bruna at the time, but this all came from going to the university, from having an education, from participating in this program that allowed me to be in a space that otherwise I would never occupy. So those programs and having access to those people and to those places, to that knowledge, really changed everything for me. And from that day on, I understood that learning is a continuous process.
mhm,
I got the diploma, I got the the university finished, but my career journey was just starting, and I continued to learn from courses, online courses, in-person courses, whatever courses I could get to acquire the skills necessary to keep going. So I think you have to keep learning one way or another. And either it's a new language that you learn, like I did last year. I was painfully learning German. Trust me, guys, it's very painful, but it's worth it, because at the end of the day, it opens doors that
mhm,
otherwise you wouldn't be able to knock on. And once you have the language, once you have the course, once you have the certification, you can keep going. So I think um, graduating, going to the university was very important to me. There, I met a lot of people who were talking about in-game advertising, who were talking
mhm,
about games and advertising together, how to put that together, and how profitable that can be. And this is kind of, I did my master not my master, my bachelor project was based in video games, and then I jumped into the video game industry um, So this had definitely a huge impact, and I can definitely recommend people to keep learning. And learning is forever. You're never done with it. If you think you're done, think again. You got something else to learn.
No, very much that. And there's so many opportunities to learn, not just with a new position and being trained, but also going out of your way a little bit to do research or maybe do a certification track. There's always something. There's always something that we're able to do. And kind of going off with your experience, especially since you've worked with a variety of different games, not just console. I know you've also have an experience in mobile gaming as well. I would love to know, can you share a favorite memory that you have working within the gaming industry?
Absolutely. So I have lots of very fond memories of, working with games, and in general, working in the gaming industry, from people recognizing me at an event where I did not expect to be recognized, and having someone, hey, you are Bruna. I saw you on that place, or I saw that from you. It's like, oh my God, really? Wow. To having the opportunity to come to Austria. So I was working with live stream at the time, with video game live streaming at a company called Hitbox that then rebranded to Smashcast, but it was Hitbox for a very long time. And that opened a lot of doors, and I got to meet a lot of wonderful, wonderful people. And I am today at Mipumi because many years ago, Hitbox brought me to Austria, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. I decided to embrace it. It presented itself to me. I remember Alyssa, who is still in the gaming industry, as well as a mentor, as a person who really taught me a lot. And she said, hey, we're going to meet in Austria. And I didn't even have a passport at the time. And I just got a passport so that I could travel as fast as possible. And I went from 42 degrees in Brazil to minus 11 degrees in
Oh my
Austria.
goodness.
It was just like that. I got on a plane. It was 40 degrees. I got out. It was minus 11. And there was a little bit of snow on the streets. I have never seen snow before. So it was quite an experience. And I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity that brought me here to Austria, that eventually brought me here to Mipumi, where I'm really, really grateful to be. So this is a huge this is a big one for me. I might even get a little emotional because really I got to meet a lot of wonderful people, and it opened so many doors for me. And it
Mhm.
was, yeah, one of my favorite gaming memories, so to speak, from my career.
No, I love that. I'd love to know. I know the gaming events are, pretty different out in Austria as they are here in the US, but there are also some worldwide gaming events that kind of bring us all together. Do you have a personal favorite, convention or gaming event that you regularly attend?
I might be biased, but I have to mention Brazil Game Show. It is really, for everyone in Latin America, I think this is the biggest
Mhm.
video game conference in Latin America. It has so much. And the thing is, I know that in other countries, a lot of the companies, they have kind of the same booth, right? They have a similar
Mhm.
presence every year. They have to be there, they are there, but no, 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 sweetheart, not a Brazil Game Show. You better ramp up your game. You got to bring something different every year. You got to work that up. And I love that because as a gamer, as someone who attends the conferences whenever I can, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see the stages. It's beautiful to see what kind of promotions they come up with. It's beautiful to see, you know, how they build the booths. It's quite an
Mhm.
experience. So yeah, I might be a little biased, but I have to say, Brazil Game Show, it really brings the thing a little bit a notch. You have a lot of things happening, a lot of cosplay events happening there, and it's an amazing experience. It's really something that I recommend gamers and producers in general, if you have the chance to attend, if you are around, if you are in Brazil around that time, or if you can plan to show up, it's worth it.
No, definitely. I love conventions. And honestly, you can definitely tell when a company like pours their love into their booth and into like what they want the community to be seeing at that event. And it doesn't have to be something that they pour all of this money into, but just how much effort and how friendly the staff are, that goes such a long way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw recently an indie game developer that kind of brought their game to life in their booth. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly which event they did. I don't think it was Brazil Game Show. It was a smaller event, but they transported the visuals of the game so accurately into the reality that what's the result? You know, they went viral. They went super viral on that. I don't know if this was the intention because you can't plan to go viral, but at the end of the day, they did because there was this identity that was so strong in the game and they brought it to the booth instead of just having a square space. They had
Mhm.
all those layers, all the visuals, and when you are going to the event, when you are going to the convention and you see that, it's definitely eye-catching. So it's I think those events are an opportunity not just for business, not just for, you know, building brand reputation, but also to get to know people, to get to talk to the gamers, you know, if you as a brand are attending an event, just make sure to post about it, you know,
Mhm.
invite people who are going there to meet you, you know, schedule just a coffee with people, you know, like, oh my god, I want to talk to you as a person, just, you know, let's have a coffee, let's have a tea. This is We cannot underestimate those opportunities. I think they are really, really precious.
No, I completely agree. I would love to go back a little bit. And I would love to know, what was your favorite game growing up, and did it have any influence on your roles as an adult in the gaming industry, or how you kind of conduct your role?
Um, I remember a lot because I have to say I'm very privileged. I have to brag a little bit. I had a gamer grandfather and I have a
Oh,
gamer
I love
mother.
it.
So I kind of grew up in this nerd environment, and that makes me really happy. I'm very proud of my long line of nerds where I come from. So I remember Castle of Illusion
Mhm,
and the first one, not the remake. I play the OG. I'm that old, and nobody could pass the final boss. Right, nobody, and everybody was so excited to see what would happen. And then my mom comes in, and she just knocks that boss out in a few
mhm.
attempts, and we were screaming. This was World Cup ending. You can compare it, you know, Brazil, you know, winning the cup. Yeah, we were screaming, and this was really exciting for me because we were playing for a very long time,
Mhm.
and my mom made it. You know, to see how my mom, she was so powerful in that moment. She defeated the boss, and this is kind of an attitude that I try to bring to my life in general. Every small challenge can be a boss in the face that you are playing
Mhm.
in that moment. So I try to see things as, okay, I need to complete this mission or this side quest, and then I can go to the main quest, which is my KPIs and my OKRs and the goals that I have. So it kind of gamified how I see a few things at work, even if it's just for the fun of it, even if it's just,
Mhm.
you know, for facing it in a way that makes it less boring or less heavy. So I can say that the gaming experiences that I had in childhood were really determining for me. Also, Resident Evil, I remember it wasn't clear that it was not supposed to be for children, and my
Ooh.
cousin was kind of small. Yeah, this what happened at the time, right? This was the 90s. I mean, come on, things were a little bit different. And I'm a huge horror fan, and I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil until today. They could launch a bazillion games that I would try to play all of them because it's so scary and I love it.
I absolutely love, they're making a new one too.
Oh my god, that's good to know.
Yeah, I think they've released stills so far of like Leon Kennedy, I think Ada as well,
Oh,
but
I saw it. The
it
Leon
looks
is a little
pretty good.
older.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
No, I absolutely love it. Plus, oh my gosh, having a gamer grandfather and a gamer mother, I feel like that kind of exposes you to just a variety of different games and different gaming styles and everything. So you got to kind of soak it all in, and now you get to live it in what you do on a day-to-day basis, which is absolutely incredible.
It's amazing that I don't have to explain what I do because I have gamers in my family.
I know they get it.
They get it. They're fine with it. I know I'm really privileged, and a lot of people cannot say the same. So I think a lot of people think of how building memories with their kids, with their family, games can do that. Games can definitely do that.
No, absolutely. I would love to know, I mean, you mentioned KPIs and everything. How do you stay informed about like current trends in gaming and marketing, and how do you kind of incorporate that knowledge on your day-to-day decisions?
So I have a few, I sign up for a few newsletters on the social media, digital marketing universe side. I also look into updates on the platform, so how they are
Uh-huh.
changing the algorithm, what it's changing, because they are constantly changing something, and it's sometimes hard to keep up. What I do is I have appointments for everything in my calendar, and I set a weekly appointment to look for that kind of information. And I
Mhm.
go to LinkedIn, I go to, websites, I check on my newsletters. Um, there are lots of pages that are constantly posting about updates. To keep it healthy, I have an appointment once a week. I look into what's going on, what's relevant.
Mhm.
I also stay in touch with some people through other channels like Discord, and I try to look at, trends and what's happening. Um, I think